Now let's take a look at how QRadar would shut down the target attack in every phase of the attack chain. During this discussion, I'll introduce you to several key components of the QRadar Security Intelligence platform, including QRadar SIM, QRadar Vulnerability Manager, QRadar Risk Manager, and QRadar Incident Forensics. And while I won't bring this out specifically, remember that QRadar can also be purchased as a software as a service solution known as Security Intelligence on Cloud. Break-in. Large companies like Target can require their vendors to comply with their security policies, which could have included remote monitoring of their network as well as security audits. One of QRadar SIM's key capability is the ability to detect unusual network activity. It can learn normal network activity patterns and then alert when something abnormal happens, like an attacker scanning the network. And when this happens, we can notify personnel using a QRadar alert mechanism called an offense. This notification could have tipped off target personnel early, and they could have easily shut down the vendor's link, quashing the attack at the very beginning. Latch on. QRadar Vulnerability Manager scans machines for vulnerabilities, and QRadar SIM can also centralize and prioritize vulnerability data from many third-party sources, including other vulnerability scanners, as well as products like BigFix, AppScan, and Guardian. QRadar Risk Manager can then be used to prioritize machines by risk, ensuring that the most critical systems get patched first. If Target had been using QRadar, the business-critical file server and POS systems would have been patched, and configuration errors like default passwords would have been detected and corrected, making latch-on very difficult. QRadar SIM's advanced correlation capabilities would have also detected that the unusual network activity, anti-intrusion and antivirus alarms, and even the attempts to access the Windows file server were all related, enriching the original offense that would have been created in the break-in phase. I can't overemphasize just how important this advantage is to our customers. Think again about the car alarm problem I described earlier. If billions of car alarms and other noise exist, how do you know when a real crime is being committed? You need an automated system that can sort through all of the noise so you can focus on what matters. And that's what QRadar does. Expand. Recall that once the attackers hijacked the base operations server, they then began to scan for POS machines, which were then infected with the malware. The QRadar SIM would have recognized that the hijacked server had never communicated with the POS systems before and would alert operators through the original offense. Also remember that additional anti-intrusion and antivirus alarms were generated. Again, QRadar would have detected that this was additional data, was relevant to the attack, and would also add it to the original alert. Gather. As in the expand phase, QRadar SIM would have seen the unusual traffic from the POS systems which had never communicated with the hijacked server, as millions of stolen records were relayed back. It would also have continued to automatically correlate other alerts, adding even more information to the original QRadar offense. Are you starting to see why it would have been literally impossible for the target security analysts to ignore this alert, which would have continued to get more and more urgent as additional indicators of compromise were received? Exfiltrate. In the QRadar scenario, the odds of this attack succeeding to this phase would have been extremely low. But assuming it had, QRadar again would have detected unusual network communications, this time between the hijacked server and the machines in Russia. This data could have been used to instruct BigFix operators to quarantine the offending server, stopping the exfiltration in its path. And throughout this attack chain, QRadar's incident forensics capability could have also been used to help identify the attackers, track exactly what they were doing, and possibly even aid in identifying during the attack. All the while supporting law enforcement activities. To summarize, QRadar would have detected unusual network activity throughout the attack, analyzing all of the data at its disposal to detect the attack early in the process, continually adding more data to the offense as it was received. And security personnel would have been able to distinguish exactly what was going on and could have broken the attack chain at many points, stopping the attack long before any data loss. And QRadar's ability to prioritize vulnerabilities and patching might well have prevented the initial break-in from happening at all.